is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. I'm actually behind the camera today because we have the entirety of Solemn Visions. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. So, you guys have come a long way, and it's so happy that, the new album is done. It's officially going to be out March 29th, and you're going to be doing an awesome release show hosted by yours truly. Let's just give a rundown if you guys want to elaborate on how the making of the record's been. Who wants to go first?
Oh boy!
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's
a heavy question.
Okay, I will say that in a word, the process of making the album was awesome.
Yeah.
Because we recorded it at like the sickest studio that I've ever been to in my life, with an engineer who really, really knew what he was doing, and it was super cool. Shout outs to Steve Goldman.
Yeah.
Four
Legs
Legs
Records.
Place was awesome to work at.
It was like hundreds of feet from like from the street, like Civilization. Yeah, it was like on a little hill, a house. Yeah. It was awesome because we were able to stay over the weekend, and like for drumming wise, that's super important because when our songs are fucking like 10 minutes long, it helps to be able to split it between days. And a lot of studios, when you're paying hourly, you can't do that because mic placement and everything. Like you can't just break down and then come back like a week later and set everything back up and have it sound exactly the same. So we were able to stay over the weekend, record like 4 songs the first day, 5 songs the second day, and just done.
Yeah, the fact that he put us up or him and his mom actually. Shout outs to his mom too for putting us up in her amazing house. And also the fact that he mixed and mastered it was really cool because he recorded the entire album with us, so he was already really familiar with the music and he knew exactly what we wanted from it. So he was already in the perfect position to just go right to it, and he did a phenomenal job.
Awesome. Now, being that, you've made music before, with the Spectral Voices EP back in the day and everything like that, did you guys want to do something very different with this album, or were you kind of taking what you were doing with the making of that EP and just kind of picking up from there?
Well, at first we were going to sell out. It was completely mainstream.
Yeah.
Can't wait to sell out, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Working on a trap.
Illuminati,
Yeah.
we're with you.
If you're watching.
Got your back.
You gotta write some ballads.
Hit us up, My
Your
DMs.
boys.
No, well, essentially, we figured since we're starting this new chapter of the band, we figured we wanted to do things right, and we just, instead of just being like, hey, here's some new material, like there's a second EP under a different name, we're like, we re-recorded the first one, make sure everything's like together and just like really well knit and just sounds collectively good, as opposed to just a random EP under a different name somewhere on the internet, and then like the second EP for songs that we still like play live and that our fans still know. So
Definitely. Now, one question I have actually for Anthony and Mauricio specifically, because you guys are pretty much the original members of the band who were there from the beginning. Did your style of playing ever have to adjust depending, when you went through different lineup changes at all?
No, fuck those guys.
No, I wouldn't say our style of playing adjusted. It more so it evolved with the lineup that we had at the time.
Okay.
Because let's say one guitar player will leave, get another one, with a different style. And the stuff we'll write at that point will be slightly different, just because that's just how it works when you're writing music with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say more with a natural evolution than us adjusting. It was gradual. It wasn't like it was like, oh no, we gotta do everything different. It's just...
Yeah, I just wrote what I thought sounded okay,
Yeah.
passable.
Definitely. I'm curious to being the formation of the band, going back to the formation of the band, to listening to songs such as Fortress of Solitude and Parish and Circles and so many amazing songs, how much those songs have actually changed over the course of the years.
Circles hasn't changed much at all because we wrote it instrumentally with the lineup that you see right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
well, that was actually the first song I had any input in writing, like as a whole. Like I changed stuff up drum wise in some of the older songs, but as far as like actual structure and like putting some kind of input, like that was the first song I wrote with the guys.
Hearing old songs like Fortress, which is actually
Fortress was one of our
first
songs
songs
from
we actually wrote.
2011.
It was the first song we actually wrote for this project in May of 2011.
No, the first one we wrote was Reincarnate, actually. And then we wrote Fortress.
Right, I forget the order. But hearing those now on this new record and how it just sounds, it's incredible. It's night and day difference, and it's just... Every time I hear it or even play those songs, I always feel kind of choked up inside, and I have like a rush of memories over the years every time especially Fortress.
Yeah.
Shut up. I'm proud of us. Come on, let me have this.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to say, like, this...
It's amazing.
Like, this also, with what you were talking about before with, you know, versus the old EP and stuff, so kind of in this same vein of thinking, I don't know how much you guys agree with me on this, but I was actually just saying that I feel like this... I mean, obviously we had our original plan, which was to really release 2 EPs, and then we combined them for this album. But I kind of feel like this album is like what we wanted to make when we started recording the EP.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, this is the one we've been waiting to do. You know?
And also, that original EP, I've said this 1,000 times, I recorded like a month after joining the band, and I personally wasn't happy with it. And
clearly Aaron wasn't because he threw it in a fire.
Yeah,
dick move, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks a lot, boy.
I needed the closure, all right?
Now, Aaron,
Thanks,
actually,
man.
the next question I have for you is coming from Reluctant Mortem as well. When you joined the band, were you like looking at the material, how it was beforehand, and did you like maybe adjust your vocal style to kind of fit the band, or did the rest of the guys kind of want you to bring a little bit of your own mix to
Yes.
the music?
Yes.
Just yes.
It's like basically a mix of all of that. Coming from Reluctant into this, I was already a fan of Spectral Voices beforehand. So it was just like, you know, I was already familiar with the music between like the 2 past singers before me. And I guess just like when it came to like joining them, I just thought to myself, well, I don't want to sound like just in general like anybody else,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of, you know, what, you know, genre, you know, I wanted to sound like me on this thing. So when it came to how I applied my vocals for Solemn, Spectral Voices at the time, I was doing a little bit more screaming, and I wasn't like as guttural as I was with Reluctant, you know, because Reluctant's obviously more death metal, you know. With these guys, I was a little bit more experimental, and recording it too, leaving the process of that, it was just like, there's like a lot of more emotion behind the music when it came to this, so I was like really feeling it, so just a different approach, and just put my own little flair on it and such, but yeah, it was a pretty smooth process going from that to this.
Another thing, back to recording with Steven, like, one of the beautiful things about that experience was he charged us by the song, and we recorded it over the course of 3 different weekends. First one was drums, second one was rhythms and bass, and then the third one was leads and vocals. And we had the freedom to like literally sit there and like experiment and like just work things out, like try different ways of doing things, and
Because we weren't stressing about, like, every minute we
I
spend
could
is like
record
this
this.
many dollars
Right.
or whatever.
like, we're broke ass bitches, so we weren't gonna be like, okay, I gotta record 5 songs in 4 hours. Like it was
Recording a whole album is expensive, kids.
Oh, yeah.
We already had to do unthinkable things to, you know, pay for that recording session.
We don't
so.
speak of that night.
Don't take me back there.
I still have nightmares, guys.
But I wanted to go into the guitar work of Solemn Vision, because I've noticed that there's a lot of great rhythms that follow along the band. I think you guys really have a great bridge between rhythm and melody. There's some bands that I would say are a little more rhythm oriented, like Meshuggah, for example. They're very rhythm driven, and then there's some bands that are a little more melodic driven. For you guys, Mauricio and Caden, you know, having like to come up with like the solos in your songs, do you like have to lay down a chord progression first and then maybe write over that, or how does like the guitar works come to support the vocals?
As far as my influence, Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth, I think he has a very good balance between, you know, death metal and melodic, as well as far as like how he writes riffs and chord progressions. So that's always been a huge influence in my playing, and I think that just if it comes out like just naturally and organically, it just makes it easier. Like it takes its own form, you know. And I guess you kind of know what section would sound good with a lead and which one would sound good with like being like a chorus or a verse, you know. And I don't know. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, I think that we actually ended up complementing each other as guitarists and as songwriters in a really interesting way, because I think Mauricio has, in terms of like composition, I think he has a really good sense of like chord progressions that sound good together and like stringing together melody. And I mean, I'd say to an extent that I'm pretty heavily influenced by Opeth as well, but personally, probably my biggest songwriting influence in metal is a guitar player named Keith Merrow, and he writes like instrumental music, and his stuff is a lot of like very, very technical, not like technical in the sense of it's like just like shred-tastic kind of guitar wankery or anything. It's just like the riffs are very technical, and there's a lot of like tight time changes and that sort of thing. And so I think my style of writing is sort of it's just kind of, I just kind of end up writing things that are more complicated, I guess, and have just kind of more like time changes and just sort of weird like rhythmic elements and stuff like that. So I think those two things combined ended up working really well, because I think we take very different approaches to songwriting.
Basically,
and we're not really.
I made things easy for him, and he makes things difficult for me.
I make things difficult for everyone. I'm equal opportunity here.
That is true.
The real reason behind this interview is not even just to promote the album, but to also prove that Caden actually exists.
Yep,
So
that's a fair point.
yeah.
We're gonna just get like a hologram like Tupac at Coachella, but like, those are really expensive. So.
So it's fair to say, though, with making songs, there's a lot of improvising that comes along, right? Or
100%.
Absolutely.
It can take months to finish one song sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What was it? Like
Midnight
Sun.
We wrote that back in 2020, beginning of 2012, and I think we didn't
End
have
of
the full
2011.
song. End of 2011, we didn't have it ready till like probably the summer of 2012. 'Cause,
It took like 6 months
I
to
kept
finish
getting
that
stuck
song.
on certain parts until it just came
That
naturally.
was an ancient song that they never recorded until this album,
Yeah.
and until like none of us were in the band when you guys wrote that, right?
No.
Yeah.
You guys weren't even in the band.
No.
Yeah, we weren't.
Yeah, they weren't in the band. either.
You guys were in Vortex of Hysteria. So you weren't actually in the band.
He's not wrong.
That's not wrong. Yeah,
That's not wrong. Fun fact, speaking of Midnight Sun, I was actually originally supposed to be on Oblique Existence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
When we were-
I don't think we had time.
Back when he was talking
That's what
about...
we did.
this
You know that
album-
whole hourly thing?
Yeah.
when he was, back to what he was saying about how this album, what we really wanted, about 2 of these songs that are on here were supposed to be on Oblique Existence.
Wow.
Yeah,
Which
but-
ones?
Soul Impaled?
Soul Impaled and Midnight Sun.
Wow.
I'm
That's
so
mine
glad
too.
they weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
No.
And you ended up with just Parish, Circles, Purposeless, and Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Our original plan was to have like 3 of the older songs that from before our time that we kind of revamped, and then like 1 new song in each EP.
Yeah.
Circles being the new one for the first one, A Purge for Demons being the new one for the second one, and then just have so we could get like the old material that they've been playing for years out of the way, and that we wound up playing for years, because I think now we've been in the band longer than that first lineup.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sir.
Wow,
Actually,
yeah.
all of you.
Yeah, you guys have been in
Yeah.
since 2014.
Yeah, that's
14,
crazy.
yeah. And
2013 for me.
2013,
actually.
2014.
2016.
Yeah, but you're almost going to be the
Wow.
longest one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's a long
So
time.
Fun fact,
Has
real
it in it?
quick. So him, Aaron, and Caden were both fans before joining the band. So I guess they can see why the other members left us.
We're actually on good terms with all of them.
Yeah.
So there's nothing but love for them.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Shout outs to those guys.
Yeah.
They contributed Billy and Jack and Vinny and
That's
other
it.
Aaron.
Nassim.
And the
Other
scene.
Aaron.
They all contributed a lot of like songwriting to this album.
Awesome.
They had like their own little like sections that they definitely helped to build.
Yeah, Vinny and I wrote Soul Impaled, actually.
Wow.
So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Vinny's currently in Jotunheim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jotunheim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome guys.
Big shout outs to the Frost Jam.
Wait, the
crew.
J in that band is silent?
Yes.
I was
I
called.
said yo, like Jotunheim.
Oh, I
Like
said.
Frost.
Come on,
I
man!
said-
You're like Paranosis' biggest fan. You know about silent letters in band names.
one more thing. That little piano that you do for Parish,
Yeah.
that was also Vinny. That's his melody. He wrote Parish with me as well.
Oh, really? That's awesome. It's great to know that I ripped him off so well.
No,
You did a good job. You
royalties
did a good job.
Someday.
I get royalties.
Especially when this.
Don't.
when this
don't-
comes
okay, can we take that off the record?
Yeah, no royalties. Fuck off.
Now, I was actually looking through the booklet and the album, and I think the lyrics are absolutely beautiful. Was this, Aaron, kind of like a subject matter that you had in your head, and you kind of had the band maybe write some of the newer songs according to that, or?
Well, truth be told, the majority of the lyrics on the album were actually written by these guys before I was in the band.
Okay.
The only songs that I wrote lyrics to on this album were Purge for Demons. And I like messed around with like a Reincarnate, but that already had lyrics previously on there too.
You also adjusted Midnight.
Yeah,
you
you
I
I
just
wrote some
Midnight
stuff
too.
in
Was it
Midnight
Midnight,
Sun,
like,
yeah.
a-
No,
They
Solemn
revamped?
Vision too. Solemn Vision, I
Yeah,
just did
You
that.
so-
revamped all of them.
so
Solemn
God,
Vision,
perish.
Solemn
Well,
Vision-
anyways, at least my
point.
Yeah.
my I guess my state of mind, at least when it came to writing Perch, wasn't really anything too serious. Just like metal, fucking metal saved my life basically, and I just like want to make a song about just metal,
Yeah.
and
That song's pretty metal.
It's a
yeah.
very metal song.
Yeah.
blood and guts and shit.
Does
stuff.
Solemn Vision have like a certain message that you guys are trying to convey to your listeners, or do you like to leave your music open to interpretation?
I prefer that. Keeping it open
Yeah.
for interpretation.
Honestly, like I feel like with every song, it's a
Different.
different situation. Like we just, in general, we play and we write just whatever feels good, and when it comes from, like literally, it could just literally come from anywhere. Like one song could be about complete bullshit, and then another song
Be
could have
serious.
something really an internal meaning. So it's just.
Whatever fits the music.
If there
I
was a
guess.
message, play what you like.
And whatever fits the music and like what's in your head at the moment when you're writing it, essentially.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know a few of our songs have meanings.
Sometimes-
to former members and
Yeah.
I mean, with me personally, like I have such a connection to a lot of the songs, and I don't know the lyrics to half of them. It's not like sometimes just like the music moves you without necessarily having to have like a specific meaning.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
one of the last shows we played at Lucky 13, when we played Parish, I almost freaking cried during the end of that because it's like, I didn't write the lyrics, but it's like the feel
Yeah.
of the music, that's what really, gets to people, So just really matter of just feeling it.
Yeah. I feel like with rhythm and melody as well, it could have just as much emotion or statement behind it as lyrics in itself.
The word soul, I think is what it is. We have soul.
Dude,
Yeah.
before we recorded this album and we were like scrutinizing every aspect of the music and like reading through the lyrics and stuff, I barely knew any of the lyrics to
Yeah.
this. And I love them all the same, of course. And,
When I was setting up the booklet, like I was listening to the music so that I could, while reading the lyrics, so that I could like make sure there's no typos or whatever. Because these guys just like had like old files that like Aaron had adjusted when he recorded also. So I was like changing things here and there, and I was just like, huh, I didn't. Oh, that's what he says. Okay. Oh, okay, that's cool. Like it was just a lot
actually,
of like
even as recently as like a few weeks ago, when I was when Carlos sent us his the draft of
The
the
drafts,
booklet
yeah,
that he
before.
made in Photoshop, and I was reading through all the lyrics to make sure that there were no typos or anything. And I had listened to the album many times before that, and even that recently, there were definitely times where I was like, "Oh, that's okay." I thought he said something different there.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you, and it's always the most complicated one, and I want to see if everybody can answer this. How do you know when a song is finished?
you just do.
wow. Okay, that's a good fucking question.
That was the scapegoat. I have no idea.
I think it just goes back to the feel.
Yeah, you just fucking
You just
know.
feel- you just
like
feel
sometimes when you're just like literally, it'll come down to literally the moment when you hit that, you're just like, oh my god, yes, boom, done. Like the moment you're done playing that song, you're just like,
And that's why our songs
yeah.
are, that's why our songs are like
and
8
then
minutes long.
like you're almost critic, so you're always gonna go back and like tweak things here and there. But like I feel like everyone, like when they finish writing a song, they always kind of get this like mini like eureka moment, just like that's it. That's
Yeah.
boom.
I thought-
That's fucking it.
That's
Like,
so impaled.
A lot of
Just
songs,
like-
yeah, you write like to a certain point, you're like, okay, it feels like it's finished. And then you come up with something else, you're like, okay, maybe we could add that on. Which is kind of how So Impaled was. The funny thing about that song is that it's our longest song, and Vinny and I wanted to make it our shorter song. But we just kept coming up with a riff after riff after riff.
What?
Yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, we meant to
We were
make
just
that a
jamming.
shorter
So
song.
we wanted to
We were
make it
let's
like
try
a
to make it like a
4 or 5
4-minute
song.
song, and
Okay.
here you have 9 fucking
We got
minutes
the
of.
control.
Dude, it's
During
10.
this
It's
time.
9 minutes
I was
and like
not.
38 seconds. I remember.
No,
I
it's
was there.
21 seconds.
9:21.
21, 9:21.
I was actually really disappointed when I realized that song was closer to 9 minutes than 10.
Aw.
I was like, I wanted to have a 10-minute song.
Yeah,
in
this
this
was-
album.
All right, guys, album's off. You gotta go back and re-record it.
Smash all of them.
Well, no, we got to light the fire again. I'll get the keyboard and play the piano.
Ah.
Bro,
There you go.
that'd be so much faster than last time. I freaking light that fire.
Just play it backwards.
Like Circles was a happy accident because I was trying to write something that was
Happy
kind of
accident.
like epic and
Bob
it was
Ross
like
looking
shorter.
ass.
Yeah.
Happy accident.
Bob
Oh,
Ross.
yeah.
Bob Ross looking
What?
ass.
Yeah, Circles came out really awesome. He wrote the majority of it. Like he came to us with like this big chunk of like pretty much the whole intro, pretty much from the intro till like that bridge, that dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when
Pretty
I
much that was
joined the
that was
band-
pretty much all Anthony.
the
We
acoustic
just
guitar
helped him
parts
like
I wrote.
we just helped him clean it up, and then we wrote the outro together.
And
We
what-
shaved off like 4 minutes off
When I
that
was
song.
when I was joining the band too, Circles was actually the first song I learned, like before everything else. And then like I sent you like a Snapchat of me like screaming it in my car.
I remember.
Yeah.
That was when my foot was broken.
I remember he sent it to us, and he was like, "Hey, look, a vocalist that actually does his fucking work."
Oh my god! Wait a minute.
No, I meant because like other people were trying to.
No, wait, shut up. Anyways, so here at Solemn Vision,
People either didn't show up to the audition, or
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
no.
to the audition
the thing was, the
unprepared.
thing was when we were auditioning new vocalists, we booked 3 hours of studio time because we were supposed to have 3 people show up to audition that day, and only one of them showed up.
No,
Yeah,
four.
no wire.
And
Four.
2 showed up. 2 showed up.
Oh, is that what it was? Well, either way, we had 2 no-call, no-shows that day, which was really, really frustrating because it's like, okay, cool.
We had
There's
3 no-call,
there's
no-shows.
2 hours worth of money that we just, flushed down the toilet. So, I'm
story.
choosing to interpret Carlos's comment as no shade towards previous singers in this band,
Wait,
but
no, I wasn't
frustration
talking
with the
about-
audition
no, I
process.
just-
Funny
that's
story.
exactly what I meant.
That same exact night when we had, it was actually 3 people that didn't show up that one night. He calls me after I got home from the studio and he's like, "Hey, is that position still open?" And then the rest is history, and here we are.
It's
That's
actually
awesome.
open as fuck right now.
yeah,
Since
I just
so
finished.
many
I
people
just
didn't
finished
know.
playing a set that same night too, and called them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you already had like the energy. You were
Yeah.
already,
I was like just
you
in
already
go
had the
mode.
adrenaline.
I was in fucking
He
go
called
mode.
me as soon as I got in my house. I'm like, "Yeah, dude, come by like next week."
Good times.
So before we go, I want to thank you all so much for doing this today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. So we got the album coming out March 29th, and you're going to be doing the release show April 5th at the Delancey. What else could we be expecting for Solemn Vision for the foreseeable future?
What can we talk
Actually-
about?
So
We actually got kind of a lot of stuff.
we have
like,
a lot
lined
of
up.
gigs. But,
There's a
lot
lot
of
of calendar.
Caden, you're cheating.
so our next show after our release is gonna be, I believe, May 19th at Lucky 13 Saloon. It's gonna be a really cool one. I'm gonna start setting up these showcases there. I'm not sure how frequently it's gonna be, and obviously it's gonna be different bands. I'm not just gonna be like, "Hey, check out my band," like.
Yeah.
But it's
Make sure to blur that out.
it's-
when you publish this.
We have young viewers here. This is advice.
it's gonna be a really cool event.
No.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a shit show. It's called. It's a really cheesy name. It's called Blood Soaked Brooklyn, but the idea is pretty
It's so
much
brutal.
everyone comes in covered in blood. Like fuck Halloween. Just come through. Everyone's just gonna party, and if you come by nice and drenched, we'll give you $5 off your entry. So.
Show up wet.
Show wet af. The wet's af.
We're also playing in.
I would want
Long
like
Island?
add on to that.
Yeah, after that we're playing June 1st, Long Island. It's an MSC show. The guys who run Stock, the guys from Muckrakers. Shout out to Kyler. It's gonna be an awesome show. Getting out to Long Island more, reaching out because we've been steadily playing there more and more and getting. Some people out.
we've played multiple shows in Long Island, and pretty much every single one has been really, really successful, both
They've been
in terms of local turnout and our people coming out from New York to support
Yeah.
us all the way out
That's
there,
pretty
which is
dope.
really
I
cool.
remember I came out to see you guys with Cataclysm, and I had
That was-
and
that
I
was a
had
great show.
and I had the flu that day.
Oh fuck yeah! I
That
remember
show
you
was
left
so
early.
much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
was
were opening up
amazing.
for Crack Hunger and then Cataclysm at Revolution.
yeah, that was a good time.
Then we're opening up for Serper and
The Vitus show?
That's July.
That's St.
At St.
Vitus,
Vitus,
right?
July 12th. Yeah, I think so. At St. Vitus. And then there's going to be an announcement for a little mini tour with some friends. And
We're not going to give away too many spoilers, but
Yeah.
we've got something in the
We
works.
got stuff in the
It's
works.
Not quite as ambitious as our last tour.
Yeah.
it rhymes. The band we're touring with rhymes with Bed Titty Brown. So just
Oh, gee. Nobody's going to figure that out.
Just
Have fun trying to figure that one out. Yeah, it's a riddle, guys. So come see us with that band in your town.
This big mystery band.
whoever
Like-
guesses first drinks on Carlos.
You know what? If you just guess it, just drinks on him. Period. But no. So we're gonna be doing some shows outside of the New York metro area.
All of that
And
is to say
summer.
that we survived tonight after that.
Yeah,
Right? All
Yeah,
this
so-
news and stuff.
tonight's our listening party.
Yeah, so if we survive tonight, then all that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
provided we don't all.
But now I don't know after
suffer
that
from
just
liver
now.
failure.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Shout out to the homies.
Yeah. Shout out to the homies
You know what?
in Big Titty Brown.
We changed our name. They can change theirs too.
Yeah.
Well, on that
Titty
note,
Brown patch.
this is Alex from Heavy New York.
Yeah. Be easy.
Shout out to you, Alex.
We'll see you next time,
Stay metal.
everybody.